The Knicks pull out another nail biter, 94-93 over the Pistons. A game not without its controversies, but where Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns outscored the entire Pistons team in the fourth quarter. Let's get into it right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And he is Gavin Shaw, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster, and the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. And we wanted to remind you all that today's show is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. And I want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. On today's episode, we're getting into another nail biter. It looked like maybe it was going to be a laugher early, but Detroit storms back, takes the lead, starts to look like they're going to pull this game out, and then the Knicks storm back on their own. Jalen Brunson has his own Willis Reed moment, comes back from what looked like a re-aggravation of his ankle injury or possibly a knee injury, comes back and just dominates the fourth quarter. Karl-Anthony Towns makes huge shots to propel the Knicks. And then there was some controversy on the final play of the game, and we'll get into that and what we think of the no foul call on Tim Hardaway Jr. to end the game. But first, we wanted to remind you all, too, that your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Check out the Locked On Knicks daily newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter. You also have 3 whole days to, if you're listening to this on Sunday when we're putting this out towards the end of the day, you have a couple days left. It's through April 30th. If you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll get entered to win a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, a $300 Game Time gift card, or a $200 Fanatics gift card. So definitely go subscribe at lockedondaily.com. But Gavin, let's not hold up anymore. The Knicks 94-93 beat the Pistons. I was not the most confident that they were going to pull this one out for a minute there. Detroit kind of seemed to find their second win in the second half. They were down by, I think, as much as 16 in the first half, and managed to come back and take a double-digit lead over the Knicks in the third into the fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson gets tackled by Dennis Schroeder. Not a foul, by the way, but, just gets tackled. That was pretty much allowed for most of the game, and falls on his ankle oddly, or maybe his knee. I'm still not sure which it was. They were saying ankle on the broadcast, but he came out with a big knee brace on, and that seemed like that was what he was grabbing at, was his right knee more so than his right ankle. But either way, he gets back in the game, goes bonkers to end this one, ends with in the fourth quarter, 15 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Just an absolute masterclass from him down the stretch. Just completely put the team on his back. Karl-Anthony Towns, 8 points, including 2 just nonsensical shots to put the Knicks to bring the Knicks even and then take them ahead in this game. Just a magical ending to this one. Maybe not so magical for Detroit fans who are, I think, are maybe a little upset about how things ultimately ended with a no call on Tim Hardaway Jr. to end the game.
Yeah, I was screaming the whole last 2 minutes. I scared my dog. I scared my neighbors. I scared my girlfriend. It was all worth it, because today was the day Karl-Anthony Towns became a Knick. Today was the day Jalen Brunson reminded everyone who he is. And most importantly, the New York Knicks reminded JB Bickerstaff who they are, as he said in a mic'd up in the second quarter, I believe. He said, "We know who they are. They're not doing," and that was the quote. The rest of this is a paraphrase. Like, they're not doing anything special. Like, we are hurting ourselves. And the implication there was obvious. These are a bunch of pansies. I want to use a different word, but I can't. And if we just play our game, we're going to beat them and we're going to embarrass them. And you know what? He was right for about 2 quarters because the Knicks played about as bad as they could have after a fantastic start where they didn't maybe stretch the lead out as much as they could. And then in the fourth quarter, JB Bickerstaff said, we know who they are. You know who they are now. They're Jalen Brunson. They're Karl-Anthony Towns. They're 2 of probably the 5 best shot makers on planet Earth. Just a ridiculous display down the stretch of this game. Josh Hart, look, me more than you, man, but I've argued for him to play less. This was a game where, look, Detroit at times made it painful for the Knicks to have him on the floor. He made it worth it for the Knicks with his rebounding, with his defense, the strip off Cade on the second to last possession of this game. He was extraordinary. And you know what? JB Bickerstaff roasting the Knicks. Shout out to you, buddy, for using your challenge on a loose ball in the first quarter. That was wrong, by the way. The Knicks win the challenge to get the ball back. They make a shot there in a game they ultimately win by 1 point. And then you can't use your challenge on what probably was a foul by Josh Hart, at least by regular season standards, closing out to Tim Hardaway in the final seconds. Alex, you're going to make the argument. I would probably agree with that argument. The way this game was called, you can't call a foul in that situation because it would be utterly inconsistent with the football game, maybe more so the MMA cage match that was going on the Pistons side throughout. But you know what, JB Bickerstaff, walk out on the court, complain all you want. Cade Cunningham going to be an awesome player. At least in these big moments, he is not Jalen Brunson yet. And frankly, he's not Karl-Anthony Towns yet, who with that, again, bad possessions, but just shot clock winding down, baseline fadeaway falling out of bounds, 28-foot three, 2 of the gutsiest, 2 of the best shots given the timing in the game I have ever seen a Knick make. And Kat, like, congratulations, buddy. You're a Knick for life after that.
Yeah, I'll just get the foul take out of the way early here and just get it done with. But I mean, in my opinion, I don't think you can. And look, you know, it would be painful, but I would have to admit this the same way if the same thing had happened to the Knicks. But like, you can't be okay with how the game is called for most of it and be like, this is Detroit basketball. You know, like, this is how we play. This is what we do. We're tough. We punch people in the face all game and we get away with it because we're the bad boys, whatever. And then be like, oh, but he touched me a little bit. Like, that's a foul. Like, no, that's just not that. I'm sorry. It was consistent officiating. So like, you either want there to be no rules or you want there to be rules. And it seemed obvious that Detroit was okay with there being no rules. I mean, if they did a full 48-minute report for this game, it would be 300 pages long to go through all the things that should have been fouls that weren't fouls because they swallowed their whistles, especially in the second half. Like, it was like football. I mean, it was just guys were going inside, cradling the ball, and you could see, I mean, this is on both sides at different points of the game, but you could see like guys ripping at their arms, like pulling their arms away from the ball and not getting called for fouls. It's like, so, okay, you're okay with that, but you're not okay with Tim Hardaway selling contact late in the game and not getting a foul call. Like, so I'm sorry, the team that's been, you know, chanting F you Brunson because he allegedly foul baits all the time is now going to cry.
By the way, two free throws this game for Jalen Brunson.
So. Right, exactly. Who didn't bait contact like at all in this game and also didn't get any calls in this game and still managed to drop 32 on your sorry franchise. But you know, you're gonna have fans in the front row heckling him and going like this and, you know, chucking their head back and everything, and then you're gonna cry a river about this. Like, okay, well, it's sad. Sorry, you guys aren't going to see a win on your home court in the playoffs for 20 years. But you know, unfortunately, I think this one's probably over because I feel pretty confident that if the refs weren't calling it tight, they're probably going to call it tight now because the Pistons fans also felt the need to pout them with garbage and make sure that they needed a police escort off of the floor on their way out of here. Stay classy, Detroit. You get everything you deserve in this series. Anyway, that one was for all the Detroit fans that will be in our YouTube comments. Oh wait, they won't because they're front runners and they only come in when they're winning. Anyway,
we've gotten some nice comments. I want to say thank you to the people who posted nice comments.
There have been some nice comments. There have also been plenty where they only show up, you know, after game 2 when they win the game, and then we haven't heard from them since. So, you know, have fun with that. Anyway, that's to take nothing away from the fact that the Knicks players, I mean, in spite of Tibbs, if I'm being completely honest, came through and won this game because I think that Tibbs, once things loosened up foul call wise in the second half, I think he was too slow to adjust. He didn't have help coming into the backcourt to get the ball over the timeline fast enough. There was like almost, 8-second violations, whatever. There was also, the play where Brunson got hurt was one where he was just getting blitzed and probably could have used a Josh Hart in the backcourt to help throw the ball to. But then on top of that, just continually, we're just like, we're going to play their level. We're going to play the Detroit's level and get to the inside and, go up for layups incessantly or whatever, which maybe you can sort of forgive that in a way because the Knicks just weren't making threes. But after like the fourth time where you go in and realize, oh, everybody's just going to foul everybody in this half and nobody's going to get calls on the inside, you should probably change your strategy and start looking to try to get shooters involved again, because you're better off at least taking the chance on that, like taking a chance on 30% 3-point shooting than you are on 30% 2-point shooting on the inside. So, I think that there was some things to work on for Tibbs in this one, but luckily they had Jalen Brunson with his post-injury Willis Reed moment come back in and just completely dominate the fourth quarter of this game and score in under 10 minutes, 15 points down the stretch of this game. So we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns, the two huge shots that he made that ultimately sealed this game for the Knicks. Still lots more to get into when we get back in to Locked On Knicks. But first, we wanted to let you know about our friends over at PrizePicks. And basketball and hockey playoffs are here, and there's no better time to turn your sports knowledge into real cash with PrizePicks, the top destination for daily fantasy action. PrizePicks makes it simple. Just pick more or less on at least 2-player projections, and you're in. You can even mix and match players across basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. And, I love playing PrizePicks because now that we're in basketball and baseball season, you could do mixed sport entries. Super fun. So if like the Mets or Yankees happen to be playing on the same date the Knicks are, while the Knicks are in the playoffs, you can make a multi-sport entry, pick like Lindor home run or Soto home run, as well as Brunson over 26.5 points or whatever. It's pretty cool. It's probably my favorite part about the PrizePicks platform, where you can build a multi-sport entry and have multiple things to root for in a single day. It's a ton of fun. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, Gavin, we're back in to keep talking through this 94-93 nail-biter win for the Knicks over Detroit. 3-1 lead now for the Knicks in this series, going back to their home court. And, the stats say probably a 95% chance that the Knicks are going to win this series now. So you love seeing that. It's going to be an electric atmosphere back at the Garden, mostly, and probably with some very loud MVP chants for Jalen Brunson, who overall in this game ends with 32 points, 11 assists, just 2 turnovers for the whole game, which stark contrast to the guy across the way that he was being compared to all game, Cade Cunningham, who ended with 7 turnovers in this game to 10 assists. So, but 13 at 26 shooting for Brunson, 4 of 7 from 3. But of course, the exclamation point on this one was Brunson with the 15 points, 2 assists, 7 of 11 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3 in the fourth quarter in just under 10 minutes. He goes down with the right leg injury, whether it was his knee, whether it was his ankle, in the third quarter. The team starts to kind of fall apart without him on the floor, and he just comes through, demolishes the Pistons in the fourth quarter in this game. Gavin, you've always got the good notes on every shot that he took, so I look forward to hearing the recollection of the fourth quarter that was for Jalen Brunson right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. I want to start off by shouting out the first quarter, because I thought we got just a continuation of game 3 where Jalen Brunson completely flipped his process from the first 2 games of the series. And he came out and he said, let me get everyone else going. Let me get off the ball. And you always hear the ball has power. That's not the right phrase, but the ball is energy, right? Like, you get off the ball, you tend to get it back. And I thought the first quarter, where the Knicks did not shoot great overall, but Detroit was horrific. Like we didn't really go into the start of the game, but the Knicks opened this 4 for 5 from 3 with 1 turnover in like the first 10 minutes, while Detroit was 0 for 4 from 3 with 5 turnovers. The Knicks had a chance to stretch it out even more. Didn't. We'll get into that as we go along. But I just thought like Brunson's ability to consistently get like rim pressure and then like drop one off to Josh Hart for a layup, Nash dribble, drop it off to Mikal for like a mid-range shot. And then he again gets off the ball and like Hart hits him for a transition wing 3. Like he gets going. There was a play where Hart got multiple offensive rebounds, and that was when where like Deuce tipped it out and then saved it from going past midcourt. And Brunson just makes the extra pass and hits Cat in the corner, right? 2-play sequence in the second quarter where he draws an offensive foul on Asar and then stares him down on the other end of the floor and hits a right wing 3. Like if you're ever going to make an aura edit of something, that would be the play. Like another play where he stripped Asar. Like I just thought his physicality, his decision making was exemplary early in this game. Third quarter, like everyone else, not as much of a factor. Lane was clogged. It felt like a bunch of other guys were just playing boneheaded basketball. Comes back in off the injury. ISO and beats Hardaway for back-to-back layups. They put Schroeder on him. He cooked Schroeder for a layup. Toast Cade Cunningham. And I'm really interested to go back and watch and see, why did the spacing just completely open up in the fourth quarter? Because you had Deuce in, but not for Hart. He was in for OG for the bulk of the fourth quarter, which should maybe give you a slight spacing boost, but not dramatic. I think the biggest thing was that Karl-Anthony Towns was off the ball, and I would suspect he was mostly staying past the 3-point line. And we congratulations to both Kat and Tom Thibodeau. Hopefully, with all the evidence you need, like if they can't double and triple team Jalen and clobber him at the rim, you're going to see a lot of success. And at that point, once he got hot, they started clobbering him at the rim, and it didn't matter. Like he had that ridiculous play going right where he hit the banker while falling out of bounds. Play right after that, hits a step back 3. And then I thought, I don't know if this was Tibbs. If so, I give him a lot of credit, or this was Jalen drawing this up. But this was actually a way where they finally leveraged the gravity of all their players simultaneously, and it got them an open shot where Jalen calls OG to set a screen for him. And then OG gets Schroeder switched. And that is a 5-alarm fire for Detroit, right? They haven't been letting OG attack a small this entire series. So it forces Duren over. Brunson never even has to give OG the ball. It's just that OG just making the post-up draws 2. Instead, skip pass cross court. Cat hits the right wing 3. That puts Cat into a little bit of a rhythm late. Brunson has his last bucket. ISO, I think it was on Cade, through contact, gets hurt, but flips it in. Misses a shot on the second to last possession. But at that point, Alex, he had done enough. Some poor defense against Tim Hardaway. I'll forgive it all. I mean, this is why he's the clutch player of the league. And honestly, if there's a clutch player in basketball the last 3 years, it would be Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, without a doubt. And relating to the spacing opening up, I was actually just rewatching some of those plays while you were talking, and I think the biggest thing, I mean, maybe another Knicks hat tip to Bickerstaff in this game, the decision to put Duren on Cat for the whole closing stretch of this game completely changed things for the Knicks, because
Harris did have 5 fouls, so I wonder if that was maybe
that was, I guess, but they weren't exactly leaning on Harris for offense, right? So like, if he fouls out on, they were earlier in the game, but like certainly late in the game, they weren't looking to him too much. So it's like, if he fouled out, then so be it, I guess. But I mean, he was, the guy that was getting up in Cat's. This is probably the best defensive game that Tobias had on Cat this whole series so far. Honestly, like it was the first time where he seemed to actually sort of get to Cat a little bit, whereas most of the other games would be like Tobias would have one good possession and then Cat would come back down and toast him on 2 more possessions in a row, like just hit him with the too small and call it a day. But like Tobias was actually kind of doing a good job, and then they just decided to throw Duren on him, and Cat, to his credit, like was pulling Duren all the way out. And I mean, once he made that first really long 3, it's like, well, okay, he's feeling it, buddy. Like you got to guard him all the way out to the Pistons logo at half court if you want to, if you want to guard him at an appropriate distance today. I think that was what ultimately opened things up so much, where it also made it less noticeable, like having Harris on Hart down the stretch too, versus having Duren on Hart, where Duren was like doing what most teams would have their center do when they put him on Hart, and having him cheat in and be that like second or third body on the inside, big body, whether he was the one, smacking the guy around or whatever, like just getting that mass of Pistons on the inside to stop anybody from being able to do anything. And Brunson then, was just running into like single coverages. He had Cade on him for a while. And also you can't ignore the fact that like just the shot making was insane. I mean, there's just some of the ones he was making down the stretch, like dribbling with his right hand, going to the right of the hoop, and then pulling up and hitting a lefty banker while like falling out of bounds. It's just that stuff is just like, how does he even do that? Like, I don't understand. So, some of it was just amazing shot making. Other parts, it was definitely strategic. And like, it was one of those things where I don't even know if it was a conscious thing by Tibbs to take advantage of it, but just by virtue of the fact that Bickerstaff, I guess, like to your point, maybe just kind of panicked a little bit and was like, oh, we need Harris out there. We can't have him, get fouled out. Like, let's put Dern on Cat. I think that completely swung the game and all of a sudden opened up the inside for the Knicks again, which then not only led to guys like Brunson scoring on the inside, but also led to the outside. Then, the inside out game opened back up again. And all of a sudden you see like Mikal Bridges, who hasn't hit a shot all game, getting like wide open motion corner threes that he's splashing, which was huge for him too. Like, huge shout out to him. Like, again, another fantastic defensive game on Cade. Yeah. And then just didn't make like any shots in the first half, even though he had perfectly wide open ones, and then makes these like two super clutch movement threes in the third and fourth quarter to kind of push the Knicks back in there. So all in all, good job by, again, I don't know if it was Tibbs that was calling it, if it was the players just kind of calling their own shots, but because a lot of it was just kind of created out of like Brunson ISO. But good job by players identifying what was going on the floor. Brunson waving off a lot of screens, creating space that way, directing guys where to go on the floor. And that really made all the difference down the stretch of this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're like, we can, as much as I'm not a big fan of this Detroit team and their crowd right now, like we can be objective enough to acknowledge that Cade Cunningham is an extraordinary player, finishes this game with a 25-point triple-double, 4 blocks. The third quarter literally put up a stat line that had not been recorded in NBA history, like offense, defense. Like I said it a bunch this season, but I think the guy is a future MVP candidate. There is a maturity and a confidence and an understanding with Jalen Brunson of who he is that Cade just does not quite have yet. And look, and again, Brunson's 5 years older. Like, Cade's going to get there. But to me, that is the difference in this series, when there was so much debate before the series and so many like national people trying to be hot take artists and being like, I'll tell you what, Detroit, maybe I'm just doing Kendrick Perkins impersonation right now, but Detroit has the best player going into this series. And it's not true, because when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to like who is going to find space and who, to your point, is able to like consciously direct the other 5 guys on the floor to create a shot either for themselves or someone else, like Brunson is just light years ahead right now. And he's in his own category. And it is what, like, if the Knicks, like if they keep winning and they get to the Celtics and they're able to keep those games close, it is why they have a chance against anyone if they can just stay in the game, because Brunson is as good as any player in the league in those moments. And tonight was yet another example. But you know what? Karl-Anthony Towns was as well. We'll talk about his night. We'll get deeper into Mikal Bridges, into what I thought was a borderline heroic performance from Josh Hart. Maybe some final notes on the ups and downs of Tibbs, and then so much more. We'll get into it all next here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, we sang St. Brunson's praises. Now it's time to move over to Pope Cat. I don't know why I have a Catholicism theme going on, but man, he was incredible. Alex picks up 3 fouls in about 3 minutes from the end of the second quarter to the start of the third, and I was like, all right, here we go. This was the Cat all the Timberwolves fans warned us about. Again, like kind of a brainless third quarter where he's just like mindlessly like driving into 2 or 3 guys like over and over again. But you know what? First of all, give Tom Thibodeau some credit for making the decision, saying like, all right, if I pull you out of this game, the way this is trending, I think we're going to lose. So I'm going to risk it, and give Cat credit for paying that off. Doesn't pick up a foul the rest of the way, or picks up 1 foul, gets to 5, but plays good defense down the stretch on Cade. I think does everything he can without fouling, had a few more big plays at the rim, and just another performance that makes you feel, I think, a lot better than I maybe anticipated feeling 4 games in about who this guy is as a playoff performer.
Yeah, I mean, his whole career has been kind of up and down, but I think that this just kind of shows that given the right, the right matchup or being looked for enough, whatever, like he can definitely impact playoff games. I mean, I think the 2 final shots just insane. This is like when he or anyone says like that he's probably one of the best shooting, I won't even say 3-point shooting, just shooting big man of all time. Like that's it right there. Like I don't know how many 7-footers can make those 2 shots that he made. Maybe Dirk, like it's the falling out of bounds one was just like, I mean, that's like Larry Bird, like, the classic, like over the backboard shot. Like I don't even know how that one didn't hit the backboard, let alone went in. Just the degree of difficulty was insane. Credit where it's due to Dern on that possession. Like that actually was like a good, clean defensive possession. And Cat had already missed that shot once or twice this game, although not like that high of the degree of difficulty. And that's one that he's been going to throughout this series, like especially against Harris, and even during the regular season. But like that's one of his favorite shots, and he just hit that one. And then the final 3, just insane. I mean, he's standing a solid like 7 feet, 6-7 feet behind the 3-point line on a step back, like James Harden style at 7 feet tall is just insane to cash that with the amount of confidence and everything that he had in himself with that one. Just a nutso offensive performance for him. But to your point too, the defense I thought was really good, like especially early in this game. I mean, it's probably getting underreported on by us a little bit here because of how things went in the second half. But first half, the Knicks were crazy good on defense. Like they were outside of like the close to the half where the wheels kind of fell off a little bit, and they gave up like, I think it was like an 11-2 run or something to end the first half. And whittle what was I think it was a 16-point lead down to a 7-point lead going into halftime. Oh, sweet. Wow. Look at my memory. But yeah, so they just played fantastic defense in the first half. And a lot of that was like Cat blitzing. They were making Cade uncomfortable. And I mean, you want to talk about like the difference between Cade Cunningham and Jalen Brunson right now too. That's probably part of it. Like Jalen Brunson has mastered the art of not getting uncomfortable on a basketball court just yet. And Cade Cunningham clearly isn't quite there yet because the Knicks were like smart about when they were throwing that quick double at him. They were flashing Cat like straight up to him off of like every pick and roll, every time he would drive, whatever. And he was panicking a bit and throwing bad passes. The Knicks were like fully just basically funneling him to where they wanted him to go, and then funneling the pass to where they wanted it to go, and then intercepting said pass and getting out in transition. It was just a fantastic first half for them. Now, a lot of that goes to like OG and Mikal too, who both played fantastic defense and sort of had like I would say about a 50-50 split again in this one on how often they were tasked with guarding Cade. And I thought it was, of all the things that we don't give Tibbs credit for, like I give him credit, like switching that look up is smart because they are very different defenders. So Cade goes from a guy that he can't physically move off his spot in OG to a guy that just can stay in front of him no matter what in Mikal, and who's also like a little lankier and a little more prone, I think, to getting like a hand on a shot or whatever, or like getting his hand right into your shooting space more so than OG, who's more about like just kind of physically overpowering you. But like a really great job from those two. And Cat was a big part of that too, with just smart blitzing. Obviously had the little bit of foul trouble, but I didn't think that he ever made like a super boneheaded foul in this one, other than I guess maybe the charge where Cade kind of baited him in and got a charge on him. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty smart game from Cat, and he played really well down the stretch too with those fouls and didn't get himself ejected or in a situation where Tibbs like really had to think too hard about keeping him on the bench for like an abnormally long amount of time, which I think was the biggest testament to him in this game, because that's sort of been the thing that plagues Cat the most, at least to me this season.
Yeah, and he hit another one of those threes, like I think mid third quarter again when it was so first half to second half, it was a 23-4 Pistons run. The Knicks went up 48-32, and then by the end of that, they're down by 3, and then to your point, they're down by 10 with 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and part of it was like it was like Malik Beasley got red hot. Tim Hardaway's like shot making throughout was like outstanding. I got to imagine that's going to go down as one of the best games of his career. We mentioned Cade was outstanding. They were good in transition, and the Knicks just kind of died. But Cat just like multiple like late mid third, early fourth, even before the 2 to end the game, just giving the Knicks some relief by hitting total bailout shots. Where like if the Knicks, despite like the officiating, and maybe I don't know if we're gonna have time, but maybe we could touch on the officiating if we want, and the fact that like this turned into like a dangerous situation, frankly, for the Knicks, where like Josh Hart was getting upended going for rebounds. We saw Brunson get hurt, like guys on both ends getting taken out of the air a lot of times with no calls. Like for the Knicks to have any success through that, it was because like Cat is just insanely talented. Like so many times, and like even down the stretch, the process was bad. It was like, all right, Cat, like bail us out. And over again, he did. Like wasn't good process, wasn't smart offense. Like the Knicks did not really have a plan, and it was like Karl-Anthony Towns is better than anyone on your team, and he's the best guy on the court for these couple of plays. Some of the defense you mentioned, but back-to-back possessions where like he stole a Holland pass, then stripped him, like early in the game, swatting Harris, walling up on Cade. And then as you noted, like I'll flip over to Mikal because really rough offensive game from him and OG, right? It combined 6 for 25. They were like in the first half in particular, you noted it, but Mikal misses like 4 threes. 3 of them I'd classify as pretty much like wide open. And those were the windows when the Knicks had it stretched to 16, where you're like on a half decent shooting game from one of those two guys, this is a 25-point game. And we're maybe having like a completely different story. We're not having all this stress down the stretch. Detroit doesn't make like this ridiculous turnaround comeback. And it has been a theme, unfortunately, all year long for the Knicks, where they get up and they don't have a killer instinct. And especially in big games, they concede a big lead. But Mikal Bridges defensively throughout, I don't know how you could walk away. Maybe you want to argue something earlier in the series. But I don't know how you can walk away from this one and say it wasn't his best defensive game as a Knick. Finishes with 3 steals, a block, plays 44 minutes, more than 5 more than OG, who against that a lot of the fourth quarter. And like even the plays like where he didn't block Cade, like there was that late fourth quarter post up where Cade was trying to bully him, and he looked like OG the way he just held his ground, didn't move, and Cade had to like settle for like a Cat fadeaway, and unlike Cat, he couldn't make it. So I mean, for all the bad shooting, all the takes to the rim from Mikal and to a lesser extent OG that were destined to fail, the way those two defended in this game, that was like, I know this is just a first round series, that is championship level defense. And I said this last show, but it is incredibly encouraging to me to know, even if we didn't see it all regular season, that Mikal Bridges like still has that in him, because I wasn't sure at this point.
Yeah. And it, to your point about what it means like for team building and potential to, potentially beat championship contenders or whatever, it does give you a little bit of solace that no matter what you see during the regular season or whatever, that these guys still have this mode when they hit the playoffs if they need it. And it's also crazy that in on the Bridges front, the guy could not throw a ball into the ocean in the first half. I mean, he was just bad on offense. Like at one point, the sequence that stood out to me the most is he gets a corner 3 opportunity, badly hits it off rim. Like it just was not close to going in. And then the Knicks get an offensive rebound, kick it right back out to him, and then he airballs it. And it was like, bro, you are not feeling it today. Luckily, that just needed to switch to the other side of the court, and he put it together in the second half with those 2 big threes. But like, it was crazy that I was in like the Strickland like Discord and whatever, like talking through the game with people, and people were like losing their minds about Mikal like missing shots, and I was like, yeah, but like the defense is so good this half that like you can't even fault him for it. Like as long as I literally called it as I said, as long as he hits like 2 threes in the second half, all is forgiven. And then what does he do? He hits 2 threes in the second half. But yeah, we're
forgiven. Yeah,
good game for me for calling that sort of thing. But I thought that his defense too, I don't have too much to add, like just phenomenal on Cade. I thought that OG too, also did not have his best offensive game. Only 3 of 13 for OG, 0 of 3 from 3. I think he was probably one of the guys that most got hurt by the fact that there was just nothing getting called in this game, because there were a number of times in that third quarter run where like he was trying to get inside and trying to. I mean, he's gotten so much better at this over this season. We saw it, during the stretch of 20-point games and everything, where he's gotten so much better at driving to the inside, taking care of the ball all the way in, and then going up strong for a layup or whatever, or like a quick little floater or whatever it is he's going to go up for. And he just like wasn't even able to get into those motions because he was just getting mauled on the inside, like just tons of hands all over, just like ripping his arm. There was one in particular, I forget who it was that honestly fouled him. It was a foul. Like if you look at it, but like he was driving in and you could literally see, I mean, he had the ball cradled getting ready to go up for a layup. And like someone literally pulled his whole arm off of the ball and like pulled it behind him. And OG's there, like, what can I do in this scenario? So, I think that he struggled with that. Mikal struggled with not being able to hit the threes early on, but all in all, both of them, I mean, just for the defense on Cade that they were able to switch off throughout the game, made them positive impacts in this game by the time all was said and done. Before we hit whatever last points, we did get a unfortunate breaking news during recording this. So Dick Barnett has died at how old was he? 36 to 25. So he was 89 years old. So you and I a guy before our time, arguably before even some of the like, if you watch the second championship team, I don't believe Dick Barnett was on the team by that point. First championship team, he was towards the end of his career, but just a fantastic Knick, fantastic guy, super well spoken. You and I had the pleasure of going to a movie premiere about the three New York teams that won in '69, and there was a panel discussion after that, and Dick Barnett was part of it. That was the only time I ever like saw him in person, but it was a joy hearing him speak. This was like 5-6 years ago, but yeah, rest in peace to Dick Barnett. That's a big loss for the Knicks community. That's right up there with like Willis Reed or anyone that we've lost in the last few years as far as like impactful people lost from the Knicks organization. So big shout out to Dick Barnett and rest in peace, and really just a trailblazer, one of the original Knicks that was like part of the turnaround that saw them eventually become a championship team. So he'll be missed for sure.
Yeah, I always think about how Clyde speaks of him, and it's with like nothing short of reverence. Like to your point, same as Willis, same as Earl Monroe. So, man, special team, special group, special Knick. R.I.P. Dick Barnett. It feels weird to go back to talking about basketball after that, but you know what? If someone honored how that team played with their play today, it's not a good transition, but all I have, Josh Hart, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals in this game. I thought he was exceptional. And again, like they are going to have to figure out ways, like assuming the game is officiated similarly. And I know you're saying there's a chance that the officials pivot a little bit. I'm not sure. It almost feels like this is a mandate from Adam Silver responding to a crowd of people I don't agree with, but the quote unquote too many threes crowd, our game is gone. The 90s were better crowd. It does seem like Adam Silver, for whatever reason, took what I consider BS seriously, because that's how the game's been officiated in the postseason. We've seen it with the way like Houston has just ragdolled Steph Curry throughout their series. We've seen it with the way like Orlando has like, again, basically turned the Celtics series into a steel cage match, which is the only reason they've been competitive with a far superior team. And Detroit is sort of taking advantage of the same things. But you know what? If that is the style of play, you better have a Josh Hart out there, because he was the one guy in a third quarter where everyone on this Knicks team, including Jalen Brunson, after like a war of a first half, just looked lethargic and beaten down and almost ready to concede that this was going to be 2-2 and we're going to go back home and we're going to have to like win one more in Detroit to take this series. And Hart was not screwing around with that. Like 2 threes in the first quarter, finishes the first quarter with 8 points. This is from a Macri tweet, 3 steals and assists, had 2 offensive rebounds on that possession I mentioned earlier that ended with the cat 3. He was exceptional at the start of this game. Missed some key free throws. I said it on the solo pod I did yesterday, Alex, but I don't think he's close to 100% right now. Like the elevation he had at the rim when he was shooting around 80% at the rim earlier this season and was essentially the best swing in the league at that. He's been coming into this game right around 56%. I guarantee that's gone down after today, like especially in that third quarter. He was trying to will his way there and in transition, and just some of it is the fouling, but it's also like he's not getting as high, doesn't have that contact balance he normally has where people just bounce off him, and yet like willed his way there over and over again, getting offensive rebounds. Had that play where Jalen missed, and then he stripped it off of Duren to get the ball back, and I think that led to the baseline out of bounds. So if I'm remembering correctly, where Mikal hit that second corner three, that was a great play call by Tibbs. And then I already mentioned it, but arguably aside from the shots from Cat and Jalen, the play of the day was him stripping Cade on that second to last possession where Cade didn't have Mikal beat, but was kind of moving him down towards the rim, and Hart just gets a hand in there and takes the basketball away. That was big time.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I mean, with the early scoring barrage, as we've seen, so often, the key to the Knicks potentially getting out to an early lead a lot of times is, can Josh Hart make the threes that the defense is giving to him?
Yeah.
And he managed to do it in this game, 3 of 5 from 3, in a game where a lot of guys struggled from 3. I mean, where you had Mikal shooting 2 of 6, OG 0 of 3, Deuce 1 of 5. Like, having that production from Josh early was key. And then obviously, the plays down the stretch, and that I'm with you. The one on Cade, if it wasn't for the huge shot making and 15 points from Brunson in the fourth, and Cat with the crazy 2 shots down the stretch, that's probably the play of the game.
Yeah.
Especially if it had resulted in something better for the Knicks on the other end right after. Like if that Brunson layup had gone in down the other end, that would have been almost curtains at that point. But anyway, I think that's it for this game. We'll of course have more for you guys. Game 5 coming up, so we'll have coverage of that. I think we got a special guest coming on early this week, so keep your ears out for that, and lots more great stuff to come. Hopefully with a swift end of this series soon, so that then we can start talking about how the Knicks could possibly beat the Celtics. So we'll see how that goes. But until next time, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.